It was 3:47 a.m. when my phone rang. I remember the exact time because I jolted awake, heart pounding, mind still foggy with sleep. Calls at that hour never mean anything good. I grabbed the phone, my hands already trembling. Mrs. Adewale? Yes? There's been an accident. Your husband was brought in a few minutes ago. You need to come to St. James Hospital immediately. I didn't even hear the rest of what they said. I was already out of bed, fumbling for a hoodie and my car keys. My legs could barely hold me. My heart raced faster than my thoughts. All I could think was, let him be okay. Please, God, let him be okay. The drive felt endless. Every red light felt like a slap. Every second, my mind flooded with terrifying thoughts: blood, bones, lifeless eyes. I whispered prayers the whole way, my voice cracking. When I got to the hospital, I ran through the entrance, straight to the emergency desk. My husband, Tunde Adewale. He was just brought in. The nurse glanced at the chart. Room 204. He's stable but... You should speak with the doctor. Stable, that one word gave me enough breath to move again. I pushed open the door to his room and froze. He was there, lying pale and bruised, but alive. Alive. But that moment of relief was short-lived. Because in the corner, seated with a bandaged head, wearing his shirt, was another woman. She looked up at me. And I knew her. I knew exactly who she was. She wasn't just any woman. She was the woman he once swore was just a friend. The woman I had always had a bad feeling about. The woman he told me to stop being insecure over. I didn't say a word. I just stared. And everything inside me cracked. I sat there, numb, staring at the floor of the hospital hallway. My thoughts were loud, but my body was still. I couldn't cry, not yet. Not when the betrayal was still wrapping itself around my throat. Tunde hadn't woken up yet. He lay there with machines beeping, tubes in his arms, and the other woman had already been moved to a separate room. The doctors called it a precaution. I called it convenience. A nurse came to update me on his condition. Her words were meant to reassure me, but one sentence stood out like a flashing red light. He was lucky, considering how fast they were going. If they hadn't swerved to avoid that pole, both he and his passenger might not have made it. Passenger. She said it like it was normal. Like the woman in his car wasn't a knife in my chest. Later, I stepped outside for air, and that's when I saw it, her purse. Security had found it in the wrecked car and handed it over to the nurse's station. I wasn't trying to snoop. But it was right there. Open. And curiosity is cruel when your heart's already shattered. Inside was her phone. No password. The messages? Endless. Tunde, she thinks I'm on a business trip. I'll call you tonight. Tunde. I miss your body. I need you again before I go home. Tunde, I wish I could just stay with you. Some messages were from the very night of the accident. He had lied. Over and over. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a full-blown relationship, behind my back, under my roof, during the very moments I was planning our future. I gripped the phone like it was a weapon. Because in that moment, it was. A nurse passed by and asked gently, "Are you all right, ma'am?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No. But I will be." Then I walked back into the hospital, into a room where the man I married lay broken. And for the first time since the accident, I wasn't worried about his healing. I was thinking about mine. When Tunde finally opened his eyes, I thought maybe, just maybe, there would be remorse. Tears. An apology. There was none. He blinked slowly, his lips cracked, eyes distant. I stepped closer. He looked at me. Then past me. Like I wasn't his wife. Like I was a nurse on rotation. A stranger. The doctor gave us the news gently. "Tunde, I'm afraid the spinal damage is severe. You won't be able to walk again." His fingers twitched. His jaw clenched. Still, he said nothing to me. Within hours, his family filled the room like a swarm. His mother wailed dramatically. His sisters fussed over his blanket, bringing his favorite snacks he couldn't even chew yet. And when they saw me, they put on their plastic smiles. "You're a strong woman," his sister said, squeezing my shoulder. "Now more than ever, he'll need you." I didn't respond. Another chimed in, "Marriage is for better or worse, ABI? This is your worse. You'll stand by him." But no one, not a single person, asked how I was. How I felt sleeping beside a lie all those years. How I was supposed to care for a man who could lie so deeply and still expect my loyalty. They erased the other woman like she never existed. Swept it under the hospital bed like dust they didn't want to face. Tund remained silent, letting them write my fate for me. And I stood there, surrounded by family, love, betrayal, and expectations, feeling like I was the only one in the room who'd actually suffered a loss. Not of a husband. But of trust. Of dignity. Of choice. His mother waited until the room emptied before calling me into the hallway. Her eyes were red, but not from grief. From strategy. "I know it's hard," she began, voice soft like velvet over thorns. "But this is marriage. And marriage is for better or worse." I stayed silent. She stepped closer. "This is your cross to carry now. God will bless you for standing by him. You're his wife. Not his judge." Her words dropped like weights. Heavy. Familiar. Weaponized with culture, religion, and guilt. She wasn't the only one. His pastor visited the next day, laying hands on Tund and then turning to me with that practiced look of concern. "A virtuous woman is known by how she endures trials," he said. "Your reward is in heaven, my dear." His sister cornered me near the cafeteria. "Do you know how many women would pray to still have their husbands alive? At least you still have him." I almost laughed. Have him? They spoke like love was a prison sentence. Like loyalty should ignore betrayal. Like being a wife meant I had to erase my own pain. No one talked about the woman he was with. The woman he chose to be with when he should have been with me. No one asked how it felt to rush to a hospital in panic. Only to learn you were never really home in his heart. They only saw the wheelchair and expected me to chain myself beside it. The weight of their words wrapped around me like a noose. Sacrifice. Duty. Forgiveness. But none of them were carrying this load. None of them were lied to. None of them had to look into the eyes of a man who betrayed them and clean his wounds like it never happened. I wasn't heartless. But I was human. And for the first time I asked myself, who's going to take care of me? At first, I tried. I cooked his meals. I bathed him. I lifted him from chair to bed, bed to chair. I smiled when visitors came, nodded when his family praised me. I was the good wife. The strong woman. But inside, I was unraveling. Every thank you that never came. Every quiet moment he scrolled through his phone, never once looking up to ask how I was doing. Every time I heard him sigh in frustration, not because of his injury, but because I didn't do something fast enough, or the way she used to. Oh yes, he had the audacity to mention her. Subtle at first. She used to massage my legs this way. Or she understood me. Like I was just a replacement nurse. Like I didn't matter beyond what I could do for him. But the worst part? He never once said sorry. Not for cheating. Not for the lies. Not for dragging me into this mess without even a hint of remorse. Instead, he acted like this was owed to him. Like I owed him my life. One evening, I sat beside him, feeding him soup I made after barely sleeping the night before. My back ached. My heart was a ghost town. He frowned. Too salty. No thank you. No, I appreciate you. Just complaints. Like always. Something snapped. I stood up slowly. Put the spoon down. And for the first time since the accident, I looked at him not as my husband, but as the man who broke me and expected me to keep stitching the pieces back together with my bare hands. I'm done, I whispered. He blinked. What do you mean? I mean I've been trying to love someone who doesn't even respect me. I carried your body. Carried your shame. Carried your guilt. But I'm done carrying you. And I walked away. Into the kitchen. Into silence. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was dying. I felt free. I waited until the house was quiet. His mother had just left, after another round of "you're such a strong woman" and "he needs you now more than ever." But strength without peace is just suffering dressed up in respectability. I walked into the room where he sat, watching TV like nothing had shattered between us. Can we talk? I asked. He nodded, distracted, eyes still on the screen. I turned it off. This isn't working, I said, my voice calm. Too calm. Not because you're paralyzed. But because you broke something in me long before that car crash ever happened. He shifted, confused. What are you talking about? You cheated, Mark. The word sat in the air like smoke. You were with another woman when you crashed. You lied, you disrespected our vows, and now everyone wants to act like I'm the villain if I don't sacrifice my life to care for you? He looked away, jaw tightening. I was confused, he muttered. It was just a mistake. Mistakes don't last months, I said. Mistakes don't laugh beside you in the passenger seat while your wife sits at home thinking you're working late. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. I loved you, I continued, voice cracking. I planned my life with you. But love doesn't mean losing myself. And it sure as hell doesn't mean being punished for your sins. So what, you're leaving me? He asked, bitter now. No, I said softly. I already left the moment you decided she was worth more than our marriage. I'm just finally saying it out loud. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just sat there small, fragile, and quiet. Maybe for the first time, he realized that love doesn't mean loyalty without limits. I didn't leave that night, but I packed. Quietly. Carefully. With every folded shirt and zipped bag, I felt a little lighter. The hardest part wasn't walking away from a paralyzed man. It was walking away from the version of me that stayed silent, swallowed pain, and called it duty. His mother cried when I told her. So you're really leaving? After all he's going through? And I said gently, yes. Because before this accident broke his body, he broke us. And I've already mourned the marriage, I'm just done pretending it's still alive. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Quiet. Peaceful. Mine. For the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and saw a woman, not a caregiver, not a doormat, not a background character in someone else's mess. I started therapy. I reconnected with friends. I remembered what joy felt like. People talked. They always do. But I didn't care. Because I chose me. And if there's one thing I've learned through this painful, brutal season, it's this. Loyalty doesn't mean abandoning yourself. It doesn't mean enduring betrayal in silence. It doesn't mean breaking just to prove you're whole. I loved him. I stayed longer than I should have. But in the end, I chose truth. I chose healing. I chose freedom. I chose myself. And I'd choose it again.